Two countries in southern Africa, both emerging from tough years. But what sets Zambia and Mozambique apart? Why might their development paths lead to two entirely different outcomes by the end of 2025? Here's the fascinating contrast. Zambia is projected to grow at 6.2%, nearly double Mozambique's 3%. But Mozambique could become the world's second-largest LNG producer if megaprojects finally deliver. Meanwhile, Zambia is betting on diversification after successfully restructuring billions in debt. Two nations, two strategies. One burning question. By December 2025, who will have won Africa's growth race? This isn't just about two countries. It's about whether resource-rich nations break through or get stuck. The stakes are massive, and the clock is ticking. Let's dive straight into what 2025 looks like for each country. Zambia is the speed demon. 6.2% GDP growth projected, driven by three explosive sectors. Agriculture is forecast to surge 27% after drought recovery. Mining will expand 13% as copper production ramps up. Services are expected to grow 5.1%. Mozambique is playing the stability game, 3% GDP growth, but with inflation locked at just 4.8% compared to Zambia's 12.8%. That's crucial. Steady prices mean people's purchasing power actually grows. But here's the sectoral breakdown that tells the real story. Zambia's growth is spread across agriculture, mining, and services. Mozambique? Almost everything depends on extractive industries recovering and those $20 billion LNG projects in the Rovuma Basin. The projection is clear. If you want explosive growth in 2025, bet on Zambia. If you want sustainable, low-inflation expansion, Mozambique wins. But there's a twist coming, and it's all about what each country is building for the future. Here's where 2025 gets really interesting, and where projections start shifting the game. Zambia's 2025 infrastructure pipeline is all about connecting existing strengths. The $492 million farm-to-market program will cut transport costs for farmers by an estimated 30%. New solar projects totaling 1,000 megawatts will end the hydropower dependency that crippled growth in 2024. The projection? These infrastructure upgrades should boost agricultural productivity and mining efficiency, potentially pushing Zambia's growth even higher than that 6.2% forecast. But Mozambique is building for a completely different future. The Total Energies LNG project is expected to resume full operations by end 2025. If it does, Mozambique's LNG production could hit 13 million tons annually, worth an estimated $8 to $10 billion in export revenues by 2026. The Coral North FLNG facility gets final investment decision in 2026, adding another 3.5 million tons capacity. The math is staggering. If these projects deliver on schedule, Mozambique's GDP growth could accelerate to 5 to 6% by 2026 to 2027. The 2025 infrastructure race isn't just about this year. It's about who's building the foundation for the next decade. But here's the million-dollar question. Can you build a strong economy on borrowed money? Let's look at what the debt projections tell us. Now, for the numbers that could make or break these forecasts. Zambia has pulled off something remarkable. Public debt is projected to fall from 133% of GDP to under 90% by 2025. They've restructured 90% of external debt and secured a current account surplus of 5%. The IMF is projecting fiscal surpluses through 2025. Translation? Zambia has fiscal space to invest in growth. Every dollar earned can go toward development, not debt service. Mozambique's fiscal story is more complex. Public debt is projected to rise to 96.8% of GDP in 2025. Still manageable, but moving in the wrong direction. The current account deficit could hit 43% of GDP as LNG projects ramp up imports. But here's the crucial projection. If those LNG projects succeed, government revenues could jump from 24.6% of GDP to over 30% by 2027. That's transformative fiscal space if the projects deliver. The 2025 question isn't just about growth. It's about who has the financial capacity to sustain it. Now here's where these economic projections meet harsh reality. Does any of this growth actually help ordinary people? The poverty numbers might shock you. Here's where the rubber meets the road. Will this growth actually improve lives? The stark projection for Mozambique: 75% of people will still live under $2.15 per day in 2025, unchanged from today. Worse, due to population growth, 800,000 more people will be poor by year-end, even if the percentage stays flat. Zambia's poverty projection is slightly better: 62% in extreme poverty, down from 64% in 2024. Small progress, but at least moving in the right direction. But here's the sectoral breakdown that could change everything. Zambia's diversified growth is projected to create jobs across agriculture, 27% growth, mining, 13% growth, and services, 5% growth. That's broad-based employment potential. Mozambique's LNG-focused growth might generate massive government revenues, but direct job creation is limited. The real test: can the government channel LNG revenues into social programs and infrastructure that create widespread employment? The 2025 poverty projections show the fundamental challenge. High GDP growth doesn't automatically mean poverty reduction. So what do the projections actually tell us about who wins? Short-term winner: Zambia, hands down. 6.2% growth, falling debt, current account surplus, and diversified job creation. They're building a sustainable growth model that works for 2025 and beyond. But the long-term projection flip. If Mozambique's LNG gamble pays off, we're talking about potential GDP growth of 5 to 6% annually starting 2026, with government revenues that could fund massive social programs. Here's the key insight from all the 2025 forecasts. Zambia is optimizing for certainty: steady, diversified growth with manageable risks. Mozambique is optimizing for maximum upside, potentially transformative growth if everything goes right. The projections show two completely different development strategies being tested in real time. What will actually determine who's right by December 2025? For Zambia, can they maintain 6% growth while keeping inflation under control? The projection assumes good weather for agriculture and stable copper prices. One bad drought or commodity crash could derail everything. For Mozambique, will the Total Energies LNG project actually resume full operations? Can they maintain security in Cabo Delgado? The entire growth projection hinges on mega projects that have been delayed before. The wild card neither forecast fully captures: global energy markets. If LNG prices surge due to geopolitical tensions, Mozambique's upside explodes. If they crash, the whole strategy fails. But here's what we know for certain about 2025. Zambia's approach offers more predictable outcomes, while Mozambique's offers higher potential rewards with much higher risks. Two nations, two strategies, two completely different 2025 projections. If these forecasts hold, Zambia will lead in diversified growth, fiscal stability, and poverty reduction. Mozambique could still surpass everyone if LNG projects succeed, making 2025 the decisive year. By December 2025, we'll know whether steady diversification beats the resource boom gamble. We'll know whether the tortoise or the hare wins Africa's development race. The projections are in. The strategies are clear. Now we wait to see which vision of development actually works. Two futures, 1 year to decide. Place your bets.